The first message. I never thought one message could change my life. At that time, I was just a normal guy trying to improve my English. I wasn't good at it, and I often felt shy speaking in front of others. So I joined an online English learning group on a social media platform. There were many people from different cities, and everyone was there to learn just like me. One evening after work, I posted a simple message in the group. Hello, everyone. I want to practice English. Anyone wants to talk? I wasn't expecting a reply. Most of the time, people ignored these messages. But that day was different. Within 2 minutes, I got a reply. It was from a girl named Ria. She replied, "Hi, I saw your message. You are trying well, good job." I smiled when I read her words. They were simple, but they made me happy. I replied, "Thank you, I am learning slowly. English is hard for me." She sent another message, "Don't worry. You're doing fine, just keep practicing." I was surprised. Her English was so clear and correct. I asked, "Are you a teacher?" She laughed and said, "No, but I love English." From that moment, our conversation started. We kept chatting for hours. At first, I used short and simple sentences. I made many mistakes. Sometimes I used the wrong tense. Sometimes I forgot words, but she never laughed. Instead, she helped me. She corrected my sentences in a kind way. She even explained the rules. It felt like I was in a class, but a very friendly and sweet one. As we talked more, I started feeling comfortable. I looked forward to her messages. Every evening, I waited for her to come online. We would talk about food, movies, music, and daily life. And every day, my English became better. My confidence grew. But something else also started growing, something I didn't expect. I started liking her, not just because she was helping me, but because she was kind, patient, and funny. She had a way of making me feel special, even with just words on a screen. Her messages felt like little lights in my day. I didn't say anything about my feelings, not yet, but inside my heart, I knew this was the beginning of something special. The call that changed everything. One day, while we were chatting like always, Ria asked me something new. She said, "Hey, do you want to try speaking in English on a call?" I was silent for a moment. My heart started beating fast. I was scared. Writing English was okay for me. I could take time, think, and then type. But speaking was difficult. What if I made mistakes? What if I sounded bad? I told her, "I am not very good at speaking. You might laugh." She replied with a smiling emoji and wrote, "I will never laugh." "Don't worry, let's just try for 5 minutes." Her message gave me courage. I looked at her profile picture. She had a soft smile. It felt like her smile was saying, "You can do it." So I said yes. She called me. I took a deep breath before answering. I was nervous. My hands were cold. My voice was shaking when I said, "Hello." Then I heard her voice soft, clear and happy. She said, "Hi, finally we're talking." That made me smile. I said, "Yes, I am happy but little nervous." She laughed and said, "It's okay, I understand, just relax." We started with simple sentences. She asked, "What did you eat today?" I told her slowly, "I ate rice and dal." She said, "Good. Your sentence is correct." That made me feel better. We kept talking for a few more minutes. She helped me with pronunciation. She corrected me gently, and every time I said something right, she praised me. "Well done, you said that perfectly. Wow, you're improving." That call lasted for 20 minutes, not just 5. and I didn't even realize how time passed. I was enjoying it. After we hung up, I felt something new. I felt proud of myself. It was my first full conversation in English. I smiled to myself and thought, if she wasn't there, I could never do this. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her voice. It was so calm, so warm. I liked listening to her. I liked how she made me feel confident, comfortable, and happy. That one call changed everything. It wasn't just about learning English anymore. It was about connection. I started realizing something big. I was falling for her. A promise over tea. After that first call, everything started to change between us in a beautiful way. We began talking in English almost every evening. Some days we talked for 10 minutes. Some days we talked for an hour. Ria always spoke slowly, and I tried my best to keep up. She never made me feel small, even when I made silly mistakes. If I got stuck, she waited patiently. Sometimes she repeated the words slowly, so I could understand better. I think that's when I knew she was special, not just as a teacher or a friend, but someone who truly cared about me. One Sunday, she messaged me in the morning and asked, "Do you want to meet for tea today?" I froze. My eyes kept reading that line again and again. We had never met in real life before. Only chats, calls, and small video talks. I typed yes when, and quickly deleted it. Then I typed again, yes, I would love to. What time? She said, 4 p.m. near the park tea stall. That was perfect. That tea stall was not too far from my house. I remember getting ready like it was my wedding day. I wore my best clean shirt, combed my hair 3 times, and checked my smile in the mirror again and again. I was nervous, not just nervous, my heart was beating like a drum. I reached the park early. I looked around, pretending to be cool, but inside I was full of butterflies. Then I saw her. She was wearing a simple yellow kurti, holding her phone in one hand and smiling. That smile, it felt like sunlight. She looked around, saw me, and waved. I waved back, trying not to look too excited, but I was. We walked toward each other slowly, smiling like kids when we met. We both laughed softly, not knowing what to say first. Finally, I said, "Hi, it's really nice to see you." She replied, "Nice to see you too, finally." We both laughed again. Then we walked to the tea stall and ordered 2 cutting chais. We sat on a low bench near the stall. The weather was perfect, a little cool, a little breezy, like the world was also happy for us. We spoke in English just like we had promised. She asked about my family. I told her about my younger brother and how he always used my phone. I asked about her college life. She told me about her boring classes and funny roommate. We laughed a lot. And whenever we paused, we just looked at each other and smiled. It didn't feel like a first meeting. It felt like we already knew everything, like 2 old souls meeting again after a long time. Before leaving, she looked at me and said, "Promise me something." I said, "Anything." She said, "Promise me we'll always talk like this, honestly, openly, and in English." I smiled and held out my little finger. "Pinky promise," I said. She linked her finger with mine and nodded. That one moment, sitting under a tree with 2 cups of tea and a pinky promise, became the most beautiful part of my memory. That was our first date, simple, sweet, real, and I didn't want it to end. The days that followed, after our first tea date, everything felt different, warmer, brighter, more exciting. That pinky promise stayed with me. Every time I touched my little finger, I smiled. I started waking up with her name in my mind and sleeping with her voice in my ears. We didn't meet every day, but we spoke daily, and every conversation was special. We always spoke in English. Sometimes I made mistakes, but she never laughed. She gently corrected me, and I learned without fear. One day, she asked me to write something in English and send it to her. Like what, I asked. She said anything. Maybe a paragraph about your favorite memory. That night I sat on my bed, phone in hand, thinking deeply. I wrote about the first time I rode a bicycle without falling. It was simple, just 6, 7 lines. I felt shy while sending it, worried she might not like it. But she replied, "It's beautiful. You have a very honest way of writing." That one line gave me so much confidence. From that day, I started writing small pieces for her, my day, my feelings, sometimes little poems. She read everything, and she always replied with kind words. One Sunday afternoon, we were talking, and I said, "You are very patient with me." She laughed and said, "That's because I like talking to you." My heart skipped a beat. I didn't know what to say. I smiled and said, "I like talking to you too, more than anyone." There was a silence, not awkward, but soft and sweet. I could feel the connection between us growing deeper with every word, every silence. Sometimes we met at the same tea stall. We talked about books, movies, food, dreams, and sometimes silly things like which biscuit tastes better with tea. I noticed she always pushed her hair behind her ears when she was nervous. I started loving those little things about her. I once told her, "I like your laugh." She blushed and said, "You always make me laugh." That small sentence stayed in my heart. One evening, it started raining while we were sitting under the tree near the tea stall. People ran for cover, but we just sat there, laughing and letting the drops fall on us. I took out my phone to take a selfie, but she stopped me and said, "Let's keep this moment just for us." That line made me realize she wasn't just special, she was rare. And I was falling in love, slowly, deeply, truly. A promise of forever. Months passed, every day our bond became stronger. We were still just friends, but in my heart, she was already more than that. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew I loved her, not in a big dramatic way. I loved her in small things, in the way she smiled when I used new English words, in the way she waited for me to speak slowly, without rushing, in the way she laughed at my silly messages, in the way she looked at me when I brought her favorite tea without asking. One day I finally decided to tell her. I was very nervous. My hands were cold, my heart was fast. I called her and asked, "Can we meet?" She said, "Sure, same place." I said, "Yes." That evening I reached early. I waited under the same tree, near the tea stall. I watched every person walking by, hoping to see her. When she finally arrived, my heart felt warm. She smiled and said, "You look serious today." I laughed and said, "I have something to say." She looked at me and waited. I took a deep breath and said, "I like you. I've liked you for a long time. You are the most beautiful part of my life. I love how you make me feel, and I think I'm in love with you." I looked at her face. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she smiled, the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. She said, "I was waiting for you to say this." I felt tears in my eyes, happy tears. She held my hand. Her fingers were cold. Like mine, she said, "I love you too." That moment was perfect. The cars were loud. People were walking by. The tea shop was busy. But in that moment, everything went quiet. It was just her and me. We didn't need anything else. After that, we continued our journey together. We still spoke in English, and we still made mistakes, but now we laughed even more. We started dreaming together about our future, about a small home, about traveling, about always staying together. And every time someone asked me how we fell in love, I smiled and said, it all started with a cup of tea and a first date in English. That story became ours, our own sweet, real love story.